Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of our Southern California first-time buyer market update. This is for, 2022. I've typed 2021 about 15 times today still. I figure I get a good week or two to still make that mistake. Kind of seeing some interesting things in the market, but one of the things that we have to be careful of is, and we've talked about this before, is are we seeing an actual change or are we seeing some results of a holiday weekend kind of getting into those stats? We're going to answer that for you. And one of the reasons why you really have to take a critical look at these things and not always take everything at exactly face value. So it's Friday night, but we're going to go ahead and get into it. I know a lot of you have decided that 2022 is going to be the year that you buy a home. I hope that's a lot of you at least. We would love to work with you. But let's get started and go through the stats here for Southern California. So just a little bit of a reminder for everybody, this is for Los Angeles and Orange counties. So let's go back to the beginning. So our first thing here is we're going to look at our closed prices, right? Our closed prices is 729,000. So we dropped a little bit for our entry level single family home. That's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And then for our condos, they've actually dropped quite a bit. But remember that this is based on results from 4 to 6 weeks ago. These are contracts negotiated 4 to 6 weeks ago. You'll see our payments rose a little bit though. Why? Because interest rates did go up a little bit in the last week. Even that drop in price wasn't enough to counteract that for our condos, our entry level 2-bedroom, 2-bath condos. And then always a little bit of fun. I just like doing this, putting some reference to this. If you had 5% down and no other debts, how much income would you need in your household to qualify for these houses? And again, we're just a little over $100,000 here for our entry-level single-family home and about $75,000 for our entry-level condo. Now we're going to get to the part that everybody really is waiting for, right? And that is the availability of homes and is inventory going to change this year and what's going on. We do see some movement on this, but I want to make sure that we're really evaluating this the right way. So let's go ahead and take a look and go through it. So moving on here, we're going to look at our absorption rate, and our absorption rate is kind of our quick market metric. And one of the things that you noticed was last week, it was crazy hot, off the charts. This week, 70% and 64%. And, you know, remember what absorption rate is. Absorption rate is measuring the relationship between homes coming on the market versus homes that are going off the market because they go into escrow. And one of the things that happens over holiday weeks, right, is that when you have the holidays, you have no homes coming on the market. And when I say no, I mean almost zero homes come on the market during that period between Christmas and New Year's. But buyers are still out there. So what does that mean? Absorption rates jump. Then what happens the week after? The last basically 2 weeks that people have been waiting to put homes on the market, they all put them on the market at the same time, right? And so what does that do? But we have relatively the same number of buyers, maybe a little bit more, but buyers are far more constant in the marketplace. So what does that do? It plummets. So we kind of see this seesaw effect. And in fact, we saw this towards the end of November too. With Thanksgiving, they jumped to a high level, then it tanked, relatively speaking. Here we jumped to an even higher level, and we dropped even more. I expect this to stabilize next week. I think that that's a big component of what you are seeing in this absorption rate. We're going to look at total inventory, and really, you know, I am defiantly not changing the range on my graph because I am hopeful that these numbers will come back up for us, and we'll start to see more inventory come in the market. We are seeing more inventory coming in the market, and you're going to see some good news towards the end of this chart. I'm going to actually have some news for you that I think is going to be something that you will all be happy about, those buyers who are out in the marketplace. Now, if we look at our 14 days still active, this is kind of an interesting one because remember, this looks at all the properties that came on the market in the last 14 days, which is admittedly not very many of them. And we look at how many are still available. We actually see a pretty healthy number here for our entry-level condos, but gosh, a really, really low number here for entry-level single-family homes. That means that just, you know, maybe some of these haven't really quite hit yet. It is Friday. I would expect a bulk of new listings to come in for entry-level homes, but it looks like some of these might actually be getting taken up as soon as they hit the market. Finally, we're going to look at our week's supply of homes, and we kind of see something interesting happen here, right? We see jumps in both of these categories. Gosh, 4.91 was our jump here for our single-family homes, and up to 6.5 weeks or so. Remember what this is. This is taking a look, and it says over the last 2 weeks, based on how many homes went into escrow, if no new homes came in the market other than what we have today, how long would it be before we ran out of houses? But I want to divert your attention back here a second. So look at this date. This is the 7th of 2022, so January 7th. If we go all the way back here and we look at January 7th in 2021, what do we see? Nearly 5 weeks of inventory here. Obviously, this is a more pronounced jump, but we see nearly 5 weeks. And then also we see over, we see nearly over 10 weeks of inventory in our condos, right? So, even looking at this, if you're looking at condos, this year is worse than last year, but there's always this little bump at the beginning of the year. Again, I do think that's going to stable out, but I think this is good news that at least for our entry-level single-family homes, we're actually seeing about the same amount of weeks of inventory as we saw at the beginning of 2021, signaling that maybe supply and demand aren't any more out of whack this year than they were last year. We're just going to have to see in a couple of weeks. Of course, I am looking back here and look what happened as we went into spring. Look at that weeks of inventory. We were way down in the twos pretty much through May of last year. I think this is that part of the year, right? When I don't know if you're the kind of person who likes to track weather, maybe you are, but I'm fascinated by the weather, and it's always interesting to me because I like to try to get a feel for what kind of winter are we going to have based on how the early fall goes. Well, it's the same thing with the real estate market. The first few weeks of the year can really be telling and predicting what kind of spring I think we're going to have. So we're just going to have to really see these results through the next couple of weeks. So absolutely stay tuned. Also, again, just a little bit of a plug. If you would like to be a homeowner and you're in Southern California, we would love to work with you. Let us lend you our expertise. You can reach out to us by a couple methods down below, including a 15-minute, no cost, no obligation Zoom consultation. We love doing those for people. And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And we will see you again real soon.